is happening kind of a thing. So it ought to affect the attendance of even the regulars. Fine. As usual, though it says part 10, it doesn't mean that you cannot pick up or understand what's going to be happening today. I've made it a point to make sure that every talk is complete in itself as a unit also. And of course, those who have been attending the whole series would make more sense out of it, because there are certain technical terms which comes in with a load behind them. So that's it. The topic today talks of therapy. In fact, a lot of us go to yoga only for therapy purpose. We look at yoga like a medical science. Why are you doing yoga? Either I have a back pain, or there's a headache which is persistent, and tried this thing, that thing, and it did not work. So ultimately we said we'll try this also. Or some long-standing diabetes, and so on and so forth. Or doctor has said for operation and I don't want to go to get myself operated. Those are the reasons that we look at yoga for. And we, by and large, understand yoga for removing undesirable health conditions. Very well. Not wrong, but not right. Because yes, yoga can be a therapy. Yeah, I use the word can. It is not a therapy. If it is a therapy, it is a therapy for freedom. And freedom also, not independence from British rule that India got. Yes, it is not just freedom from aches and pains. It's a freedom in a much, much higher sense of the term. Freedom from pain. And yoga, related to its relative philosophy, Sankhya. Those of you who have attended the earlier session will recall, in a long drawn discussion, we had understood the three types of pain as the yoga philosophy looks at. Sankhya philosophy talks about. The three types of pains are, just to recall, one, that one suffers physically, mentally, due to one's own body. Another is that one suffers due to other beings. Yes, due to some animal, insect bites, and infections and all those. Then the third type of pain is due to nature. Floods and earthquakes and natural phenomena can cause pain. Or supernatural things. These are the three types of pain. Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik and Adhyatmik are the terms used in Sanskrit. Now, to get rid of all these type of pain, this entire scripture, the science and art of yoga has evolved. So the ultimate aim of yoga is freedom from pain. And that comes to us as a modern thinking, as a therapy. Now, the very obvious question arises is that illness, disease is also pain. It is the first type of pain that we said, that pain due to our own self. So, yes, then rightly, it is correct that yoga is for that also. But is yoga not for that alone? That comes in as a byproduct, provided you aim towards that higher aim. If your aim is only to relieve the physical discomfort or the mental discomfort, as the word disease means, dis-ease, ill at ease, you're not at ease. When is it that you're not at ease? When what has to be normal, comfortable, balance, equilibrium is lost. So really speaking, yes, there is a similarity there. Yes. More than that, we also want to believe it. Otherwise we would question them.
Particular case with some package stores and all of this, I had asked them, what is the aim of the yoga? We are told that to become always become disease-free. I have told that last 17 years I have not taken any medicine.
The meaning change. Yes. We must question them and put them down so that the right kind of yoga perpetuates. In a way, it is a good sign that at least yoga is becoming known. And in the process, abuse also happens, which is what is happening. But through that abuse, there is the silver lining is that there will be people like this who will question and will want to find out the real thing. Amidst all this cloud, unless until the cloud comes, you are not going to try to discover what the real thing is. So in a way, I will say they are doing a good service. They are providing the necessary mist which can be cleared, and therefore the right thing can be known to people. Unfortunately, the wrong things always become popular first and easily, and they are always temporary, we are sure of. So this is the right thing. So freedom, the higher kind of freedom, Kaivalya as it is called, and so on and so forth. Okay. So let us see how this yoga is a therapy and how it is a therapy for freedom. I used a few terms. One, of course, the types of pain. Another, I talked about being balance and imbalance, right? Dis-ease, ease and disease, right? So that balance and imbalance is between what? What has to be balanced and what is it that loses the balance because of which the pain arises? Yes? When the inner body balance is lost, mental balance is lost, there's a physical disease, there's a mental disease. But what is it that loses balance to cause the disease of this higher kind? The three tap, as it is called, the three types of pain. Three tap, pain, sufferings. Yes? So what is it that causes this three tap? It is the balance between the three gunas. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. These are words that we have commonly heard. We tend to use them without fully understanding their meaning, their implication, and how they are actually to be understood. Yes, there's a detailed explanation on the three gunas. So what are these three gunas and how they are in balance? Whenever they, let us straight away get to the meaning. The three gunas is what constitute this entire universe. If there is any material thing existing, it is composed of the three gunas. Our physicists, our chemists, they are always trying to break the substance to its minutest particle. Yes, at one time they said atom is the last thing. It cannot be further broken down. Then they discovered there are electrons, protons and neutrons. And now they further discover that there is a photon. And now they say, no, atom can be changed into, matter can be changed into energy. And energy can be converted back into matter. The science like yoga and Sankhya have known it. The first authentic text on yoga was written by Maharishi Patanjali in 2005 BC, approximately. Some date it even 6000 BC. It was compiled. It wasn't, Patanjali does not claim to be the author of the book. He only says that all the existing knowledge, because writing was not a common thing, no, at that time. Written material, the paper and the stylus was not a easy thing to get. And therefore it was not easy to write long chapters and descriptions and all that. Everything was passed on by Shruti and Smriti. Yes? The students would listen to the teacher, learn it so well and pass it on to the next generation. And yoga was a practical science, is a practical science. So that had to be transmitted by going through the experience, doing. So like this it was going on. And all the innovations that were there, all the researches that was there, all the knowledge that was there, was then suitably compiled and written down by Maharishi Patanjali And because we said that the material was not so easy to get, he wrote it in the form of short sentences. We call them sutra. In English, if you have to call it, it's aphorisms. It's not statements really. So, short statements.